Hello, BookTube, and we're here with Summer from Sterling Reads. Hi, Summer.
Hey, Sean.
And Aaron is here already. Hello.
Hi,
Still says
Aaron.
zero people, but it takes a long time for this to show up on at least this end to say if there's anybody here. So, yeah, Brandy was working this weekend, so Summer graciously stepped in. And usually what we do is just talk about what we've been reading lately. And since usually in the last week, but since I haven't spoken to you in this way, what have you been reading lately in the past months or whatever, or things that you've enjoyed?
Oh, it's funny. I just got a notification that you were live with me. Well, I just finished reading The Armor in the Light, or The Armor of Light, the Ken Follett. I believe
Oh,
it's going to be his final book in the Kingbridge series, but I'm not for sure. But yeah, it was a wonderful book. I love all of the books I've read of his, and it
was
was
that
based in, what is
sorry?
it?
Was that a prequel to it, or was that a sequel?
No, I want to say 2 years ago he wrote a prequel, which was called The Evening in the Morning or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But this is like the fifth book now. So it's in the 1800s because I remember The Pillars of the Earth was in the like 1123. And so now it's into early 1800s where they talk about the spinning and how it changed and how they started to get the mills in and the new machinery. So where one woman who would be spinning, the machine would then have eight like spindles on it for the woman to work in a mill instead of working out of her home. And there's a whole bunch of stuff to it, but yeah.
So it's more than just about the cathedral. I thought it was just about building the cathedral. It's about the whole town, or by the sounds of it.
Oh yeah, Kingsbridge. Yeah, it's so the pillars was about building a cathedral, and then it moves on, and usually you'll hear about that, the church through the other novels, but yeah, it's so much more.
I'm gonna have to read it at some point. I've got some crappy hardcovers, which will do for reading. Andrew's here. Hello, Andrew. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read that at some point. Hopefully, he doesn't add too many by the time I get around to it because they are big enough as they are. So,
Yeah, well, we had a section on Waterloo. He had characters that had to go.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's historical fiction, and his characters are always wonderful. You have ones that you're going to hate, and ones that you love, and then there's injustices, and but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm not like I keep saying that I'm not really a historical fiction reader, but almost everything you read is historical in one sense or another because you like I love Les Miserables and you mentioned Waterloo and it's like that's historical in a sense because he's not talking about currently, he's talking about what happened in the past. And
Right?
it's very historical now.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
a favorite of mine.
Les Miserables, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think most people have got tired of me talking about it at times because I don't know how many I've read it so many times, but I'm going to read it again next year in a different translation. So that'll be 3 years in a row.
I've only read it once, but I want to read it again soon. I was hoping maybe January, but I want to read the same translation.
Well, I did. Yeah, I read the Christine Doniger again this year. Next year, I'm going to read the previous one, Julia Rose. But it's not going to be in January. I was thinking of January, but for me, because I'm going to read or reread the uh, Remembrance of Things Past or whatever you want to call it by Proust, and I'll do that in January.
Yeah, I don't know. I have the first three. I know it's just supposed to be one book, one novel, but I have the first three, and I started it at one point because Aaron Facer was talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, I have that. I'm going to start it." And yeah, I set it aside very quickly. So we'll see.
I like it, and I want to reread the what's it called, the older translation. I can't think of the name of the translator, but there's some new ones. But I want to reread the older one first, and then finally get around to the newer one. And I know there's a group that's doing it for the whole year, and I can't do that. My concentration will just disappear for doing something like that for the whole year. And I know it will, because I'll get lost in that way, but I love getting lost in a book by reading it just, constantly. I like getting lost that way. And that's how it works for me.
Yeah, I go
Uh,
back and forth with that.
Andrew says so many books, so little time. Yes. Frank Zappa, I think that's the quote. I don't know if he actually came up with that. Alex is here. Hello. So yeah, so that well, I didn't realize he's written the fifth book. So going back to the Ken Follett one, I didn't realize that. Um,
Yeah, because like I said, a couple years ago, he wrote a prequel, um, The Morning and the Evening, and then you have The Pillars of the Earth, and then you have um, World Without End, or is that in the other one? I forget the name of the third one. And then you have A Column of Fire, and then The Armor of Light.
yeah, because there is one that's sort of First World War, isn't there? Is it a trilogy or is it?
Oh, so that's Fall of the Giants. Yeah. And see, that's why I'm confused, because the second book in that one is maybe Winter of the Worlds, and I think that's similar to the title of the third book in Pillars in the Kingbridge series. And so, yeah.
Mark here in the comments says, "Hi everyone, while Summer's doing live sorcerers." Well, don't I look like a wizard?
He wore me down.
Yeah, I should, because I don't think I've not read anything by Ken Follett, and I always get him mixed up with there's another Follett that's written other things, but he's written a really good some really good radio material, a science fiction series called Earth Search, and that's a Follett too, and I always get
Hmm.
them mixed up. And I can't think of the other Follett's name. Somebody, I guess, will come to my rescue probably in the
Yeah, I
comments.
don't know that one.
But I think it may even be James Follett. Okay, so it's James Follett. I don't know if there's any connection with them. It's they could be related. I don't know. It's like I was uh, I was just on a related thing of being relation and same names. Uh, they've got, I think, this, Faulkner and August that they go, and then Mark and I have been looking for other people, and there's a John. I think it's a John Faulkner, and write sort of stuff that's kind of sliced. At least the covers are really spicy covers, and it's John Faulkner. I mean, John Faulkner, I think, and I find out it's his brother. It's
Oh,
William Faulkner's brother, and I'm going, okay, I didn't realize. You have magic at your fingertips. Yes. Happy Sunday, Gola. Yeah, I'll be talking about this so a little bit. Uh, so what else then? Is that that's the one that stand out to you, I guess, in the last little while? Is there
yeah. Well,
anything?
I mean, I read a book that was recommended to me by the boys at work. It's going through the dorm. They're all reading it, and it's called The Family Business by Carl Weber, and it is very action packed. There's lots of killing. There's drugs, all that. It's like a family drama also in there. So I can see why they would like it. And I got the second book through audio because I borrowed it from one of the boys. It had his name like all over it. He was not going to lose that book. Um, but yeah, so I got the second audio book, and it's called The Family Business too. They're really creative with their titles, and So I'm gonna listen to that at some point.
So family business usually means mobster related.
Yeah. Yep.
Geo Craftsman's here. Hello.
Hello.
So yeah. So anything else, or is that about it? That sort of standout stuff, or
So there's 12 books I want to read this
12
month,
books? Okay.
and 5 of them I've started. So I need to be more organized so I can actually finish some things.
Well, what are the 12 books, or at least the five that you've started then?
So one was recommended to me by Brandy over at the Book Eclectic, and that is Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen, or Sarah Allen Addison. I forget how her name goes. And yeah, I've set it aside. It's interesting. She's the one who you probably heard Brandy. She was the author that Brandy was really going on about like last month. She wrote First Frost and
Oh,
um,
I think, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
yeah. So that book, and then there's a book that is a library book that I'm reading that I'm trying to have my main focus on, and it's called The Year of Pleasures, and it's about a woman who is just recently widowed and her life after the loss of her husband, and it is very good. It's by Elizabeth Berg, and the only other thing I'm really wanting to focus on is A Prayer for Owen Meany
Ah,
by Irving. Have you read that?
no, I'm aware of it, but yeah, like as soon as you mention something, I know. Oh, okay, I know that one.
Yeah. It is beautiful. I love the characters. I'm a little nervous. There's so much heartbreak in it so far. I think I'm 33%. I'm reading it on my Kindle. So,
Yeah, like I don't recognize a lot of names of things. There's the New York, was it the New York Times did their 100 best books of the 21st century. Randy Ray went through them, the literate Texan, and then Mark's done something, and it's like, okay, I've heard of less than 10, and I'm going, I'm never going to have read anything, but there was one on there that I have read. That's it.
yeah. So there was 16 that I read.
16. Wow.
16.
That's twice as many as I have heard of, that were on there.
And a lot of them that I read, I think that Claire Keegan's, what was that? Something about small great things or something. I forget what it's called. But that was beautiful. I could see how that could be um, considered a great book. But a lot of those on that list, number one, I do not agree with putting two books by the same author. I just don't. I feel like if you're going to have a list, you need to have a better variety. It seemed like there was 3 or 4 books by the same author,
Yeah,
and
I did notice that. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know.
Well, and probably most people would never guess the one that I had read,
What was it?
The Book Thief.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, that's the only one because that was uh I can't remember what it was. It must have been 2007 or 8 or something like that. Somebody told me about it. And I thought, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. And I was waiting for a bus to go to Oxford, and they'd canceled one, so it was going to be an hour for the next. So I figured, no sense standing here. I'll go to Waterston's, the bookshop, and I saw that on the shelf, and I picked it up, and like the first line got me, and I go, oh, that's kind of cool, and then I bought it, and by the time I came back on the bus from Cambridge, I'd finished it.
Oh yeah,
I'm not Cambridge, Oxford.
it's an easy read
Yeah.
for sure.
But it was enjoyable. I did like it. It was classed as sort of young adult, but it was like but I think there's two versions of it. I think there's an adult version, and then there's a watered down version. I'm not
Oh, I
sure.
don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, but it didn't seem quite as young adult-ish as I expected because the backdrop is the Holocaust. So,
Right.
but but no, I enjoyed it. I remember giving it to one of the nurses where I was working at the time, and she read it, and she sort of says she doesn't understand it. Why is this girl hiding out from the Nazis? And she goes, "Yeah, why?" And I had to explain to her about the concentration camps, and she still just couldn't quite grasp it. So I'm going, okay, probably the wrong book for you.
That's crazy. I'm always surprised about, I mean, there's so much in life I don't know, but I'm always surprised about what some people don't know.
It's Marcus. What's his surname?
Zukak or Zukas, or
Yeah,
it
he's
starts with a
Australian,
Z.
I think. Isn't he Australian?
I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a unique last name.
Yeah, but no, I enjoyed it, and I should read it again at some point. But yeah, that's the only one. That's the only one. And like I say, I've hardly heard anything else off the list. And like there might be some that are kind of interesting. Like, oh, the one that I think Mark read, I might. It sounds like an interesting writer that what Shaban or Mark Shaban. I'm not sure
Yeah, I
which
don't
name.
know. I don't know his full name, but yeah, I remember Mark talking about it when he was reading it.
So yeah, and I don't know. They had the Kite Runner, I think that was on there, and I'd heard of that or stuff like that, but I don't know the book at all.
Yeah, I've read other books by him. The one who wrote The Kite Runner, A Thousand Splendid Suns.
Yeah,
I read,
yeah.
and that was I thought a wonderful book. The one book that stood out that I had read that I really enjoyed was Middlesex
I don't.
by Jeffrey. I want to say his last name's like Eugenides or something like that. He wrote The Virgin Suicides, which I did not care for, and he also wrote The Marriage Plot, which was okay. But I really did like Middlesex.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that one. Um, well, I haven't read. Go to what I've read, and basically over the last week, not a lot yet. I finished Children Do. I don't think I was finished it when I did last Sundays, and it's the third, as people know, in the Dune series by Frank Herbert. And I really enjoyed it. I've forgotten how much or how well it was written, and it's like I've read Dune more often than I have the rest of the series. And every time I read Dune, I start feeling or seeing slight inconsistencies, which it doesn't, hurt the book at all. But I understand why, because he rewrote it so many times, and every time he sent it to an editor, they would suggest, oh, maybe we'll look at it again if you rewrite it. So he'd rewrite it for them, and they didn't take it. So there's gonna be things creeping in after a while.
Yeah,
Um, and then, but this one, I found I don't think there really is much. I think it's really it's more tighter. It's very much on the structure, and it's um, like a lot of people don't like Dune Messiah because it tears down the Messiah sort of idea and heroes and stuff like that. So and most people don't like it, and that's why John W. Campbell didn't like a hero is supposed to be a hero, and but it's Frank Herbert saw things a little different, so that's what he was doing. But then he builds up something else, which for the rest of the series. So I'm looking forward to continue on my reread of it. And then I started with Brandy at the Booklectic and Randy Ray at the Literate Texan. A science fiction. I wasn't going to do this, but I decided to. Is Kim Stanley Robinson's Red Mars or Mars trilogy? Bad idea, but I'm gonna see it through. I don't understand how it's considered so great. I've finished the first book, and it was just so frustrating. The guy is not a very good writer, very sloppy. He he does so much stuff that just is infuriating, where he all of a sudden drops in a character like from nowhere, and he does things and then they disappear for so long a time, and it's just and there's so many inconsistencies with it that he'll, and his science is not science fiction, it's just current science for the most part, and it's like you're stopping the story for a lecture. It reminds me of 1930s science fiction where somebody like say, "Professor, how does this work?" "Well, me lad, I'll tell you how it works," and then goes into a scientific, uh, blurb, and that's the way this was. Yeah, I'm not. There's characters I like. There's characters I don't like. There's just a lot. Well, which is normal. And I'm partway through, but I'm continuing to read it. Partway through Green Mars. Green Mars is a little better, but there's not much in the way of actually science fiction to me. It's a lot of it is grounded in too much current science, like and he doesn't even get into people stuff, and it's like, yeah, you put people together and you do this. This is what's going to happen. you know, it's not a surprise to me. Um, I'm not articulating fully what I dislike about it, but I just don't. Yeah, it doesn't work for me. That's the one thing. So, but I will continue it. I know it's one, each book won an award. I don't know why. uh,
Maybe he knows somebody.
it could be, yeah. Like he's definitely likes drugs. Like there's drugs a lot through this. Geo Craftsman says start of new semester. He's reading Moby Dick for English class. Never read it before. Oh yeah, I love Moby Dick. It's really good.
So I started reading Moby Dick, I want to say in March, maybe. And yeah, I didn't have the time to give it. So I set it aside for another time. It
Yeah,
was quite funny though.
yeah. Oh, there is a lot of, because I love the cannibal guy from whatever the South Pacific.
I was gonna say, is it like Quigby or I can't remember his
Can't remember
name.
the
It was
name,
like,
yeah. But he saves one of the sailors, and he goes, "Well, it's us cannibals that need to save these Christians," and stuff like this.
yeah.
I just thought that was really funny.
Well, the
Uh,
whole thing of him having to, which I know this is a common thing, especially back then and as like sailors, but the idea of having to share a bed with somebody
yeah.
so different from you and not knowing this person at all. Yeah.
No, it's good. People talk about it as being a long book and stuff like this, and the diversions, and I'm going, they gotta read Les Miserables.
You know, it
There.
didn't, Les Mis did not feel long though.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah. Like so many people, like getting on that. I keep going over and over. People are hesitant to read it, and then they say, "Oh, they'd rather read an abridged version to take away all the diversions." I'm saying, well, you've just missed a huge part of what Hugo was trying to say in the story. Yes, you get the plot, but that's not what the whole book is. That's not what the story is about. Is the plot? It's not.
Yeah.
Everything else.
I do not read abridged because I do not want somebody else telling me what's important and what isn't.
Yeah. Because that's what they do. I think the bridge, like all they have to do is just take out all the diversions and then maybe cut down a little bit of the other. And yeah, you get the plot, but just read a summary if that's all you want is the plot.
Right.
Uh, Alex says he wants to read Moby Dick, and saying that's Andrew saying that's no way to write SF. No, no, I don't think so either. Well, yeah, you'll give Kim Stanley Robinson a miss then. Well, I know people like him, but it just doesn't work for me. There's some writers that do a certain writing thing, and he doesn't do it as much as others. If anybody's read William Gibson, will understand what I mean. Where in the first part of the book, he keeps you unsettled. You don't know what's going on. You just think you're getting the grasp of things, and then he throws in a curveball, and it's all over the place, and you're discombobulated, or out of sync with everything. You're not quite sure what's going on, and then all of a sudden it starts making sense. But the thing is, when it starts making sense, he's got some really fantastic science fictional ideas that then make it worthwhile to get through those weird parts. And he's a better writer. He's a way better writer stylistically than Kim Stanley Robinson. And that's saying a lot. Quaint and curious volumes. Too much coolness for one live stream. I'm cool. Wow.
Hi, James. I should say James and Louise. You might be with them.
Yeah, Queequeg or
Queequeg.
Queequeg, yeah,
Yep.
that's his name. Better sleep with a sober cannibal than a drunk Christian. The chapters in Moby Dick which provide information, I find very, yeah, that's the thing, and that's where again I think the writer is. It's like you got the plot, but this gives, like all those informational chapters, like Victor Hugo does, it gives background context. It just gives so much, and mood at times to what's going on. And that's where you miss, like it's not part of the plot per se, but it's part of the story that the author is trying to say. Golama Deeb says Moby Dick is a great book. I'm due for a read. Yeah, I was going to reread it earlier, but I couldn't find the edition I wanted to. I know where it is now. I think I was going to reread. So when I first read it, I read or well, I should say my first reread of it. Uh, Last year, or was the year before? Was the Wordsworth classics, and sometimes they're good, but sometimes not so good. Um, so I wanted to read another version of it.
I like Wordsworth classics. They're really nicely priced too.
They are, but sometimes the print is a little difficult.
Mm.
That's the one thing, and the notes aren't quite as good. I remember reading what's Virginia Woolf's first book, The Voyage Out? Is it Voyage Out?
I am not a Virginia Woolf fan at all, so I have not read that.
But I read it in the Wordsworth Classics one, and there's a part when the character starts name dropping dozens of authors. So there's end notes for each one, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, cool. This will be, it'll talk about maybe something of what Virginia Woolf actually thought of it, maybe a quote from her letters or diaries or essays or whatever. Every single one was author, and then their birth and death date, and I'm going, and writer of fiction, and I'm going, do you need that? You don't need that. That's a waste of time.
I think it was you and Mark that I was talking to about when I was reading Les Mis. I had bought brand new from Book Depository their new black spine
Yeah.
edition with the woman. Like it's a beautiful cover, but I was taking it to work and the pages started falling out. Brand new, and it's penguin, black spine.
Yeah,
Like,
I remember that happening to you, and I had the same one, and I've read it again twice, and all it is the lamination is peeling off of the cover more and more, but it's still solid, the binding. So yeah, so I don't know what happened there,
I
but
ended
they're.
up, what were you saying?
I was saying that they're crap. I was going to say shit. The penguins, the way they're made now.
Well, I ended up buying the edition that Mark has. That the one with the white and it has like the
Yeah.
teeth and hair on the spine, which that's a heartbreaking scene. Oh,
I'd like to get that one. I wish they'd actually do a nice hardcover of it, but they haven't yet, as far as I'm aware.
Well, those soft covers are my favorite because they're bigger than a paperback, yet they're still floppy and they're easy to handle and manage.
Well, like the next year, I'm going to read the Julia Rose one, and I've got it in a Modern Library. I think it's Modern. Yeah, it's Modern Library hardcover. But I think I'm not going to read that one. I'll buy if I can find it cheap because it's out in Vintage, the same one, which is part of Random House as well.
Yeah.
So I'll probably buy one of that. So basically, Random House um, is going to is putting out both because they own Penguin as well.
So when Book Depository was open, I was collecting those Red Spine vintage editions. Absolutely loved them. So yeah, I have a ton of those.
I like the covers, but I don't like the plain spines on them. That's the thing. That's the one thing I don't like, but I
You
love the
don't like the
covers.
red spine.
Yeah, it's yeah.
That's funny.
Um, Andrew saying he's got the complete novels of H.G. Wells on Kindle to delve into. Oh yeah, there's lots there, and I haven't even read them all. I think Mark started doing one, but he thinks he's going to have to reread it again early next year. Well, I'm going to read it next year, so I don't know. Maybe we can get together, but maybe not January. Maybe February or something that would work. I don't know. For me, I suppose I could always change my month for if everybody's set on January for Les Mis. I could always change my month for Proust, but because I'd be out voted there. But we'll have to figure out a date because I do want to reread the Julie Rose and every year go backwards and read all the translations because I've read three translations now, and there's actually only six. There's the first one, Charles Wilbur, done in the U.S., and then that was sort of bastardized a few years later for a Southern American version, and then Signet Reed just updated it at some point, and it's usually in a silver little mass market paper. Just think of this in a mass market paperback. That's gonna fall apart, but I do have it. Um, and then I can't remember the guy's name that was done the Penguin before the Doniger one. That's the first one that I read, and I've actually read that twice. I can't remember the guy's name. And then um, there was I can't remember her name in about 1900 1901 or something. That's that translated.
Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah. And then the British translation, which I have, and there's problems with that, I guess, because it was done in 1862 as well, just shortly after it was published. But I guess the author didn't like Hugo saying dissing or basically dissing the Great Britain or English stuff, so he changed it to be complimentary, apparently to England. It's like, yeah, right,
Can we change history too?
yeah, yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny. But they keep saying, like, I remember when the Christine Doniger one came out, they say, "Oh, finally a translation, a female translation of this," and I'm going, "There's six translations. Half of them are female. That's
Right.
pretty good."
Yeah. But they didn't know that. Like the nurse didn't know about the Holocaust, apparently.
Yeah. Geocrafts says lots of unusual offerings in H.G. Wells bibliography. Not totally sure if all of them are very great. Yeah, I'm not too sure
The
either.
only thing I've read by H.G. Wells is The War of the Worlds. It is The War of the Worlds, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I really enjoyed it.
Actually, he wants to reread Count. Yeah, I want to do that again too because that was a really good translation, the newer translation. So yeah, it's just there's not enough time in a month to read too many big books. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
that's the problem. I enjoyed the count. I
I
was Frustrated with it though, but
Count of Monte Cristo?
yes.
Oh. Why?
I'm not giving any spoilers away, but I feel like a life was wasted in revenge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah, but it kept them going, kept them alive.
Yeah, which is amazing.
But there's this new guy that's been translating the uh Three Musketeers cycle, and I'm hoping he gets to Monte Cristo because he might be able to add like 300 or 400 pages to it, and that'll be amazing. Make it bigger.
I could not get into the Three Musketeers. It was way too outrageous for me to enjoy, and I set it aside, and I don't think I'll be picking it back up because there's so much I do want to read. But I was surprised about how much I disliked some of the characters. Yeah.
I gotta. I started rereading it in a different translation, but I want to read this guy. I can't remember his name, but I want to read his translation. And he's not quite finished the cycle yet, but he should be in a year or two. And then probably when that happens, I'll go through it. Lawrence Ellsworth, yes, thanks. I thought somebody was going to be a guest on here as well on the live, but I'll just say that. Uh, and Andrew says, I've never actually read any of Wells' novels, just watched the films. I'm interested to compare the original novels to them. Yeah, I've read most of the science fiction ones. I've read some of the other ones, like The History of Mr. Polly, I really like. Um, a few of the other ones. Off the top of my head, I just can't think of the names. But The History of Mr. Polly, I really liked. Uh, and How Great to Catch You Both Live. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully, summer will come back at some point uh, when Brandy's here. Sorry, my brain is working all the time. Yeah, Lawrence Ellsworth is the guy who's translating those, and apparently he's I don't know how much he's added to the uh, Three Musketeers, but he because I guess he's going into the original um, either well both probably if there's any manuscripts available, but he's going into the original newspapers where it was serialized, and then they would cut it down for the book, I guess, and that not always was the case with things. I just finished reading the first series of the Mysteries of London by Reynolds, and it was like 2,300 pages, and that's just the first series of it. So, and that's apparently everything that was published in the Penny Dreadful. You can sort of tell it meanders all over the place. Geocraft said I've never read an H.G. Wells novel, but I've had a mixed reaction to lots of his short stories, particularly the one with the ants. Oh yeah, I like that one with the ants. It's like see that's the thing. It's like for stuff like that, I can in older books I can sometimes um, accept faults and stuff, but with this I'm having difficulty to accept faults because it's newer, which might be a little wrong. But I was saying before, like for science fiction, if it's got the fantastical and it's got a sense of wonder, and if it's badly written, it can still enthrall me. But if it doesn't have the fantastical or sense of wonder, then it has to be super well written for me to do it, and this is not well written. So, so yeah. So, what are you just going to for continue reading? Are you just going to try to catch up on those 11 or 12, or you said you started 5 and then just try to
Right.
finish those?
Yeah. But I do have some that I want to finish this year that I started before. And one of them is The Magic Mountain. And I picked it up. I loved it. I set it aside. I'm like over halfway through. I picked it up the other day. I read like 4 pages, and Hans and Sedabrini was still like arguing about something or having this deep discussion. I was like, okay, they're fine. They're still up there on the mountain having their discussions. And I set it back down.
Well, this month I was going to catch up on what I didn't read last couple months because not feeling well. But then I'm stuck in I'm stuck on Mars.
Yeah, I'm curious when you're going to pick Claudia back up. Or was it was it Claudia? No, wait. Was
Clarissa?
it Clarissa? Yeah.
Well, you know what's happened every time that I've tried that. It's like shingles the first time, shingles the second time, and I got evicted the third time. Do I want to even try it a fourth time?
Right. So September is Stephen King's birthday. And I
Okay.
cannot remember. I'm wanting to reread the first book I ever read by him, which is The Dark Half. I'm curious about your feelings because I don't remember your feelings on Stephen King. I know you're
I
not.
I've read a few, but nothing. He doesn't thrill me in any way to want to continue. I do want to read Salem's Lot, which I haven't done because, and then I want to watch the series again because I remember watching the TV series when it was on and loving it. So I want to read that. And then there's the one that's a post-apocalyptic one, this massive one, which I'm kind of interested because it's post-apocalyptic to read it, and I'm
Oh,
not
are you
sure.
talking about The Stand?
The Stand, I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those two I do. Like I've read Christine. I've read Carrie. I might have read Pet Cemetery. I'm not sure. But then the other thing that I know I've read was the one he co-wrote, The Talisman with
Peter's, yeah,
Peter
Straub.
Straub. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I liked Peter Straub's ghost story.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have not read that yet.
and I do want to reread that one because the film was good too. But yeah, that one I like. So yeah, he doesn't do anything for me. Like his style of writing or anything. It just yeah, it doesn't grab me.
Yep. Yeah, he's
So
not for everybody. I get that.
I it's not somebody that I say I hate that I don't like the writing. It's just yeah, it doesn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Let's see a comment here. There's a good ant story called Rustle in the Grass by Raman Hodden. It's an ant take on Watership Down. Hard to get a copy nowadays. I've never heard of that.
Watership Down, I own a copy, but it's one that I'm nervous to read.
I've read it, but again, like I've read the this Mars trilogy, but I don't remember anything about it. That was I read it during the time where I had the shingles the second time, and it took 6 months for them to get painkillers working. So I was up and down all over the place, high on everything. Um, so that's probably why I don't remember it. Oh, Brandy's here.
Brandy.
So so yeah, we were just talking about you. That's probably why. Oh, Bright Eyes, Bright Eyes. I'm not sure. The only Bright Eyes I'm thinking of is the Who song. That's yeah. So I don't know what that is.
I don't know. Maybe it's like Watership Down or something. Maybe it's a reference to Brandy.
But we weren't saying good things, so that's why your ears were burning or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, she's actually reading a Stephen King this month with, uh, oh my
Scott.
gosh, Scott.
Yeah,
Yeah, Danielson.
it's. I think it's Pet Cemetery. I think isn't it? It's Pet Cemetery. I think.
Uh, no, someone just read Pet Cemetery. I don't think that's what they're reading.
Uh oh, the Bright Eyes. Is that from Planet of the Apes? I don't know. Yeah, well, yeah, I think it is something. Yeah. Oh, she's reading The
Yeah, The
Shining.
Shining.
Shining. Okay.
Yeah, then over at Revenant Reads, he just read Cujo. So that's not even the same thing. Anyway, I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh, it was the song for the film Watership Down.
Oh,
Okay.
see, I haven't watched anything. I haven't.
But there's also that line is from a Who song as well. So or even actually Bright Eyes, isn't that from um oh it's a Jim Steinman one that's what's her name did. Oh, I Need a Hero or something. Turn Around Bright Eyes.
Oh, I know what song you're talking about,
Yeah.
but I can't think of who.
Yeah, I just it's slipped from my mind, but that's a common saying, Bright Eyes. So yeah. But yeah, Stephen King. Yeah, I don't know. I know he's hugely popular, but Art Garfunkel song. Oh, Bonnie. Yeah, that's must be the one from um, Watership Down and Bonnie Tyler. Yeah,
Bonnie
that's
Tyler.
the one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jenny's here.
Hi, Jenny. I'm trying to get used to where I keep wanting to like use this hand for
Yeah,
everything.
you've got to go. You got to go into the settings and switch it around.
Yeah. I'll just
Yeah,
get used to it.
total.
Total
Sorry, yeah.
Eclipse of the Heart. Yep.
The two S's are here.
Yeah.
It's about a woman in love with a vampire. Is that what the Total Eclipse of the Heart is? No, it isn't. Is it? Oh no, or I don't know. Well, now I'm getting lost,
Oh, me too.
which
That's
is
funny.
difficult these days. What other writers? There's got to be other writers that are like Stephen King, but it's just, um,
So I don't read horror. So I'm really not the one to ask because they stick Stephen King in like the horror genre, but I don't believe he belongs there. So
Brandy's saying it is. So I guess she means yeah, the Total Eclipse of the Heart. I saw a documentary about it. So okay, Jim Steinman's doing that, I guess. Well, he wrote Strange Stuff, so that's not surprising. He's the one that wrote the Bat Out of Hell stuff for Meatloaf, and,
oh, okay.
and really great movie called Streets of Fire with some great songs on it as well. Just a total. Uh, uh, well, they called it a rock and roll fable, and that's what it sort of is.
Yeah, I'll never be able to hear that song the same now.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but I suppose so. But yeah, it's kind of veiled.
So the only other author that I think could be considered similar to Stephen King that I have read something by is maybe Richard Matheson.
Oh, I like Richard Matheson, but yeah, he's a way better writer than Stephen King, I think.
Yeah, I loved A Stir of Echoes and uh, that Twilight Zone episode where it's the flight. They're on the plane. It's a flight of something, but there's like a storm, and he can see through the lightning that there's a
The
creature on.
Gremlin, yeah, there's a
Was it a
Gremlin.
gremlin? Yeah, something on the that's tearing the plane up as they're flying.
Yeah, just going back, Jenny was saying, yeah, the literal version of uh,
Total eclipse.
yeah, I can't. I have to scroll back to remember it. But yeah, and Aaron says hi, and then they're saying what happened. I think I've seen that one. I think I've seen that video, which is kind of funny. But I don't remember anything about vampires.
I've never seen it, so I'm definitely going to have to check it out.
But yeah, Richard Matheson I like because he's written on everything. Like he was just a writer that would just write anything and everything. There's one thing I do have to. Well, there's lots that I haven't read from him, but I think he wrote the script anyway. I'm sure Legend of Hell House, which is one of my favorite sort of ghost stories with Roddy McDowall. Uh,
Yeah, I haven't read or watched that.
I like that because there's only a small handful of ghost story films that I like, and they're very there aren't many of them.
Every once in a while, I'll pick up something scary, but most of the time, I stay away from that genre.
I like some of it. Well, I think I like ghost stories, and I never until like recently, like when people said, like, "Do I like horror?" I said, "Well, no, not really." Well, it's not that I don't like it. I like watching it, but I don't. It wasn't a big thing I read. And then somebody pointed out, "Well, I like ghost stories," and I go, "Oh, okay, yeah, I suppose so." But I never connected for some reason ghost stories with horror.
Right,
And to me, horror has to be supernatural. Anything else is just thriller. Like I
right.
just I don't accept like a serial killer as a horror story in that sense. It may be horrific, but so is a story about First World War or war. It's horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, I Am Legend is this big one.
Yeah. I was surprised how different the movie was from the book, I Am Legend. Or at least the one with Will Smith, the newer version of I Am Legend.
I suppose the closest one is the Vincent Price one, Last Man on Earth, I think it's called. The Omega Man was very different as well. But I like both. I like both. I didn't really care for um, the newer one. Yeah, you see, the Terror was great. Yeah, it was great, but wasn't really horror. Like that's the other thing. It's like I loved it.
I bought it. So I now am a proud owner of that book. I just have to find time to read it.
It is fabulous. It took me what 30 years to read something else by Dan Simmons, but I'm glad I did finally.
Yeah, I read Hyperion and I own the second one, but I haven't read it
I'm
yet.
rereading that again next year, so maybe you want to join then. Stephen Graham Jones count as being some. Is that the guy? Like, I think he's the one that did an introduction. I never heard of him before, but he did an introduction to. Oh, I can't remember the name of the book. Uh, it was a film with Oliver Reed and Karen Black. It's about a house that sort of is alive. That uh, Burgess Meredith is on there as well. Oh, I can't remember, but anyway, he did. I think it was him that did an introduction, and I thought the introduction was absolutely fabulous. But I've not read anything by him. But the introduction was top notch. It was fun.
I don't know who that is. I don't think. I would have to hear some titles.
Yeah, I don't know. The book ending is epic.
I Am
Which book?
Legend.
Oh
Probably
yeah,
I
yeah.
Am Legend. Yeah.
I understand separating ghost stories from horror. Often they empathize wonder and mystery. I'm not reading Karnaki, the Ghost Finder, to be scared. Oh yeah, I love Karnaki, the Ghost Finder. I just wish there were more stories. Like it's so like you can read it in an afternoon and get all the stories. There just aren't enough of them. Oh, Brandy's saying that is him that did the thing. No, it wasn't a Shirley Jackson novel. No, no, it wasn't Haunting of Hill House, which I didn't like. I'm not a huge Shirley Jackson fan, or at least based on Haunting of Hill House.
I ended up reading something. What was it? I read a couple things by her, but I can't remember what they were now. Did she write The Lottery?
Don't know.
Hmm.
No, that's Haunting of Hill House. It was I can't think of the name of it, but it was a film that I really liked, and I wanted to read the book, so I did the book to film thingy, and I didn't find the book as uh, as good as the film in many ways. I think this is a Stephen Jones or whatever his name is, one
Oh,
of the Good
okay.
Indians.
Yeah, I haven't read that.
Now it's bugging me with the name of the film, um, with Oliver Reed, Karen Black. I can't think of it, and I don't know what it is. It's about a house. That's a lie, but the so so is the Haunting of Hill House. So like, it's very similar in that way. Burnt Offerings. That's it. Burnt Offerings. Yeah, that's it.
Huh.
And I can't remember who the writer was of that either.
So for some reason, I want to say that there was a book called Burnt Author Offerings by Tabitha King and somebody else that she had collaborated with.
That's not the one I'm thinking of. It's like could very well they've taken the name again, but that's not the one
Yeah.
I'm thinking of. But I liked the film, and but I say wasn't so enamored with the book. Um, but the introduction, that's what I really liked was the introduction. It was very short. It was just extremely well done, and it made me go, well, I if I do see a book by this author that did the introduction, I will pick it up because I enjoyed the uh that so much. Question for you, Summer, are you still on nights?
Ugh. Yes. I actually called in last night. That's why I'm actually, awake. Yep, I work 11 to 7.
Yeah, that's the author's name of Burn Offerings, Robert Marasco. And Jenny says the only book called Burn Offerings that she's got is by Laura K. Hamilton,
Oh,
urban fantasy.
okay. I read Laurel K. Hamilton actually quite a lot. I've read Burnt Offerings. I've read that's the Anita Blake series, and I've read the Mary Gentry series also. Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
All fantasy, I think then, or
I would say paranormal. Yeah, there's some fantasy. There's a lot of explicit sex in those books. And so, yeah, they're a lot of fun.
yeah.
Vampires, werewolves, fairies. Yeah.
Bye, Brandy. Thanks for
Hi,
stopping by.
Brandy.
Yeah. Well, if it's explicit sex, Jenny's there. Need that to read.
Right. Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, all that stuff is like that's why I say going back to the New York Times one. I just don't know any of the authors. It just
Yeah.
doesn't.
Well, there were only 17 books on that list that because like I said, I've only read 16, but there were only 17 that I had any kind of interest in maybe wanting to read besides the 16 I had read. So out of 100, that's a sad list.
That's the thing. I don't know what most of them are about. Did they in the list? Did they give a synopsis in the actual list, or how do you know what some of them were about?
I think so. I
Okay,
think they gave you, yeah, to tell you a little bit about what it, I think.
okay. Because yeah, most of them I don't have a clue, so I don't know. I don't know if any of them would be of interest to me, like the Shaban one, because Mark has talked about it.
Yeah.
Something that I would say, yeah, and maybe whatever his name is, the um, uh, kite runner guy, the
Oh, yeah.
Thousand Tons or whatever. That might be. I think I vaguely know what that's about, so that could be interesting.
I do
And
want to read The Kite Runner.
and I've read Ishiguro Kazu. I think that he had a couple on there, but only Remains of the Day. So I do like him. So that's a possibility that I would pick up something else of his.
Yeah, I own the book. What was it? Like Never Let Me Go, I think was the
Oh,
book of his that was on the list. I own it. I have not read it. The Remains of the Day, I was torn on that. I mean, I like tradition, but it also I feel like another story of like wasted life in a sense of I mean, it felt like his life was his boss's life really. Like he didn't have his own life, it felt like. Because he lived for pleasing and doing everything to make sure that his boss had everything that he needed. So,
yeah. Well,
so
that's sometimes that's, but it was just so well written. I thought like the characters
oh
were
yeah,
so
yeah,
good. And
yeah.
that's why.
It was beautiful, but a part of me felt like it was also I don't know, just so sad and a bit devastating to. But I mean, I'm sure we all live our lives the way we want to, in a sense.
Jenny's referring to the sex in books. I think something that she swaps notes with Olive.
I don't know.
But yeah, no, I really like that book, and because I liked the film, and then because I watched the film, and then I went and immediately bought the book and read it. But I've already read it once, so I should reread it to see what I think of it now, because that's got to be almost 30 years later, I think, or I don't know when the movie was out, but it's quite a while.
Yeah, I think it had, was it Anthony Hopkins and I think maybe Emma
Yeah,
Thompson?
yeah, yeah, and also Superman. Christopher Reeves, I think, was in it too.
Oh, see, I don't even remember him being in it.
I'm pretty sure that doesn't he buy the house, like,
Oh,
later? Doesn't he's the American that buys the house, I think.
I don't know. It's been so long.
I think it is, but yeah, I could be wrong with that, because he could have been in another film doing the exact same thing, and they blurred together.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like he's a writer. See, that's the thing. He's a writer on there that I would definitely pick up and read. But like I say, the one with the Kite Runner one, I've never read him, so I don't know the style of writing. But I might pick up the other one. But yeah, there most of them I just never heard of at all. It's just, and the thing is, it's like I always hesitate of things like that where uh you get it's only we're only in 2024. How can you have 100 great books in 25 years? I find that very difficult.
You can't, Sean.
And
Clearly, you
and
can't.
and the other thing is, all the time when I see these lists and it's like chosen by just, anybody, or chosen by critics. And
Yeah,
each of those I have problems with different problems.
right.
Because every time I see a list of favorite films or something like that, and all you see is films that are in the last 20 or 30 years, and you're going, that it's people that are under 30 years old that have voted in this. So is that valid at all? You know, like when you confine it to when you've got over 100 years of something to choose from, and all you choose is from the last 20 or 30 years. Nah, there's no way that that's going to be valid. You
Yeah.
know?
And I'm really bad about caring about people's opinions. It's
Yeah,
like if I don't know you, I really don't care about your
yeah.
opinion.
No, I'm exactly the same thing. But it's like, it's people that I know, like, or got to know on here.
Yeah,
Um, then yeah, I would say, oh, okay, I'll check it out maybe, or something like that.
definitely. Definitely.
It's like with the book thief, the person that, because it was a good friend, and she suggested it to me. She suggested another book that was spot on, so I thought, oh, definitely I'll take a look at this, and it was another one that was good, you
Yeah.
know. But if just off of a random random people on the internet, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I've gotten so many great book recommendations from people on BookTube that have said something to me, or books I would have never picked up on my own that I end
Well,
up.
what I do love is watching something where somebody is destroying a book. They say it's so bad, and everything that they say that's bad about it, and I'm going, oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, yeah. What really sucks though is when you're watching a booktuber and they're destroying a book that you completely um, could relate and love the character, and they're saying all these horrible things about this character, and it's just like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, like it is. It is sometimes, but it depends on how they do it. But then some people take it as a personal attack if you don't like a book they like, and I don't. It's like,
yeah,
but but if you say something like, well, you mentioned Hyperion, Dune, and like people have, oh, they don't understand why what the big deal is. It says nothing. It's not deep. It's not this, and I'm going, okay, I can understand why you may not like it, but you can't turn around and say that it's just superficial.
right,
Those are the things that I find very strange. Yes, at the end of the day, you may not like something, but you can't say it's superficial, like people have said with Hyperion, and it's not. You know, you may not like the way it's done, or something like that, and it's just, but but there is a depth to it. It's like people are like with Layman's and it's 12 too. They're saying, oh, there's nothing to it. All there is this, and I'm going, no, there's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of layers. You may not like the way it's done. That's fine.
right. Oh yeah, my reread of Dune. Oh, there's so much I did not get. I read the first time I read it, I was in my teens, and now I'm 45. So it was like it was a whole different experience this time around. I caught so much that I just didn't wasn't able to the first time I read it.
Yeah, because it's so complex. It's the same as Hyperion. Hyperion is, like I always say, is like an onion, and not just based on the first book, but all four. It's like an onion. You can keep peeling off layers. If you want to read it just as a space opera, go ahead. And you can. I'm sure you can enjoy it that way. But you start peeling the layers, you start seeing other things that are in there. And the same as Dune. You can read it from a certain point. You can read it as an ecological sort of story, and then reread it and look at the politics. And then reread it again and just look at the religious aspects of it. I like there's different ways you can read it from and get something different out of it, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, Go to a few comments here. Jenny says all those strangers are just friends that you haven't met and teased yet. Possibly. I think the only recommendations I've received are recommendations I absolutely will not heed from people I just met. Mark is saying booktube is a mixed bag, and the booktuber can either turn me on or completely off a book depending on who it is. Yeah, I suppose that's what I mean. Yeah, if you like somebody's, but yeah, sometimes it's like they're really dissing a book, and there's a few times they go, I want to read that because what you're saying is bad is what I like,
Right.
or or a lot of times is many times I find that people, if they dislike a book I like, they criticize the things that make the book great, or I think that make the book good. They think those are the bad points, and I find that interesting too. Um, that when somebody says that, oh, these are the bad things, and I go, well, those are the great things actually for me. This is why I hate that lots of people loved Fourth Wing, and I'm like, no, I don't know what that is.
I have not read it yet. I have it on my Kindle, and I will try it. But yeah, I haven't read that one yet. So
I don't know what that is. So
it's really popular. There's dragons, I believe, in it. I think there's a dragon on the cover. So,
yeah, dragons used to be, but they just become too popular now.
so
Like everybody has dragons.
another favorite author of mine is George R. R. Martin. Did you ever read a Game of Thrones or anything
No,
like?
I've read some of his early science fiction stuff, and it never sort of did anything great for me. So I never really, it wasn't. It wasn't a writer that I go, oh, I want to read more of. Occasionally, I've always, you find a writer, you read one story, you go, oh, I really like that, and then all of a sudden, especially with science fiction, you see another story and you remember that author's name, and you read it, and you go, oh, that was really good too, and then you start seeking out every story by that author, and
Yeah,
that doesn't happen very often for me, and it didn't do that with him. It did it with Clifford Simak, with people like Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, like a lot of writers. Uh, I have people have said that I do look like him. I just need a flat cap, and my nose needs to be a little flatter, I think. And I could probably go to uh, conferences, and I wonder if I could get paid to sign books. I also was told that I look like, I always forget the guy's name. He's a good actor, but he was in Harry Potter. Isn't he Harry Potter's father? Uh,
oh, it must be his uncle if it's
or uncle,
because
yeah.
he did. His father was wasn't.
But yeah, that people, because that actor used to live in Stratford upon Avon or somewhere near there, and he had just died. And I was there at sort of Christmas time, and people would point and say that it was, yeah, yeah, the guy from Pie in the Sky, yeah, yeah. Like he never had this, not this long a beard or anything like that, but with glasses, overweight, like, and people would point, and somebody would say, "Oh, he's dead. He died," and it's like, "Oh, he's looking pretty good for being dead." And well, thank you very much. But yeah, I was mistaken so often for him.
Huh.
Uh, So I should have took advantage of it. Yeah, Richard Griffiths, that's his name. I always forget his name. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Wasn't that Robbie Coltrane? I think. Well, that was Robbie Coltrane. I think that played Hagrid. And I don't know though, but I think I've seen enough scenes that, and I thought, because I think Robbie Coltrane played somebody there. Uncle Vernon. Okay. I thought it was his father. I don't know. So that's how much I know Harry Potter stories. But yeah, I've got two people and that I actually look like, but they're, well, no, one's still alive, so that's good.
It's funny. I don't feel like I look like anybody. Like even people in my family, I don't feel like I look like any of them.
Well, I never thought this until I came to England and people were saying, "Oh, I look like this detective on TV," and I didn't know what they were talking about. And somebody had said David Suchet, and I go, I don't know how the hell I look like him, but they thought David Suchet was Richard Griffiths playing in Pie in the Sky. Uh, but Dumbledore, I don't know. I'm not quite sure who Dumbledore actually is. I know the name, but my reaction to Dan Simmons, it still makes me laugh, Sean. I like Hyperion and I should read more. And then it takes you decades before you read another. Yeah, I don't know why. Because I think probably I was afraid that I wouldn't like anything else that he wrote. And that was weird. And it must have been a subconscious thing that I sort of thought that how can you write something else as good, or quality rise wise. Um, and so yeah.
I own something else by him. Drood, maybe it's called.
Yeah, I do want to read that too, but I should reread Edwin Drood first, though.
Yeah, I haven't read that either. I was thinking about picking up a Dickens for this winter. I don't know why. I guess because of A Christmas Carol, I like to read him in wintertime.
Yeah, I got to read. I haven't read all of Dickens, and that's the thing. There's a few favorites I've had that I've reread, and well, Christmas Carol is one, and Bleak
Yeah.
House I love. But yeah, Jenny says yeah. There was a science fiction tag, and I gave every answer as Hyperion. It worked.
There's a lot going on in that book.
Ironside, yeah. Perry Mason, yeah. Between Moby Dick, I've been reading Jack London's stories. Oh yeah, Scarlet Plague. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, surprising story from 1912. Lockdown, so many enduring tropes, apocalyptic settings. Yeah, yeah. He wrote a few things that were sort of science fiction related. Aaron, uh, Aaron, read a book or read a book. Um, I read Hyperion maybe 10 years ago, and I've done the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of thing. It's like when I when I read Hyperion, like I sort of knew that there wasn't going to be another science fiction book that's going to do that for me. Um, and it's like well, I've said it over and over, but it's sort of like I'm looking for the next Hyperion high, and it's not going to happen. I don't think. Like to me, after that book was published, or after that series of books, science fiction died. You know, it's like the day that rock and roll died, the day that science fiction died for me was Hyperion. It put the nail in the coffin. Jenny says still never read Dickens novel or Dan Simmons.
Jenny, you haven't read A Christmas Carol?
Yeah, that's a good place to start because it's short. Dan Simmons, well, um, I don't know where. Well,
He
Hyperion.
doesn't have anything short.
Yeah, that's the thing. But well, actually, some apparently I just found out that he writes sort of detective novels, and they're kind of short.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, and he's like a lot of people like some of his horror stuff. Like I don't mean the terror so much, but there's Creature Comfort. Is it called Creature Comforts? There's a few horror ones that people really seem to like. So he's jumped around genres, and he seemed to have worked in other genres. I was forced to read Dickens and London at school. Maybe I'll appreciate it as an adult. Well, I like the stuff. Jay said the Muppets are the only way to experience Christmas Carol and Treasure Island. Yeah, I don't know why like people like the Muppets Christmas Carol so much. I guess they have to be a certain age. I think I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm not sure, but it wasn't bad. But it's not on the top of my list for when I say versions of the Christmas Carol I like for me. Uh, Golem Adib like the Terry. Yeah, that it is fabulous, and um, it's so he's Dan Simmons done so much research into the Franklin expedition, and he just works everything into the story. Like he works in things that they actually did know, and then he takes liberties at other times. And he takes so much liberties with a few characters that you'd think the families wouldn't have been too pleased.
I'm looking forward to reading it. We'll see when I can fit it in.
But again, it's something that doesn't feel like it's long. Like you'll go, if you like it, you'll go through quickly. The thing, Jenny says she'll stay childish forever. Well, I think it's about time. It's an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, Aaron. Like I wonder if it is an age thing. I wonder if it's people between say 35 and 45. I wonder if like it seems to be that age group that really like it.
Well, I remember
Yeah.
watching it when I was a kid, but it's been since I was a kid, and I'm 45. So I think they may be a little, well, I know Jenny's a lot younger. I think Aaron may be quite a bit younger than me, too. I'm not for sure.
Gormadi said, "Did I watch it?" No, I haven't seen the series. I do want to watch it, but I haven't seen that yet.
Mm-mm.
Gareth is here. He says, "You mentioned the Muppets," and he appears. Uh, Hi, Gareth.
I'm like, where am I at?
Yeah, got to flip it around. But Gareth, you're just coming in at the end, I think. And well, there's still more comments. So, if there's anything else you want to ask Summer or me or any other topics we should go to?
Now, Jenny, I would have thought you were in your 20s. Did not you know you were going to be 40?
Well, yeah, that's what I wondered. And well, like I'm just guessing 30, like I was saying 35 to 45. It could very well be. Gareth says it was watching the first Beetlejuice film. Still, I haven't seen
Oh,
that
yeah,
in
me too.
so long.
I don't want to see the second one. I'm horrible about that. It's like if I love an original, I don't want to. Well, it's like Stephen King's It. Tim Curry will always be Pennywise to me. I have not seen the new version.
And I say the Scottish diet keeps you young looking. That's for Jenny.
Jenny.
So deep fried Mars bars. And Gollum Deep says he'll be 49 next week. A youngin. Um, Practically ancient. No 50s year range for the Muppets Christmas Carol. My age group saw it first televised. Awesome. Sweet. It's probably my childish outlook on life. Well, I always say like I'm 19 in my head, but my body feels like 91, and now it probably feels like 100 and some years old at the moment. 55. So yeah, well, okay. So do you? So I take it you like the Muppets Christmas Carol. Um, I don't know when I actually saw it. I definitely did not see it when I was a kid. So I must have been in my 20s or 30s when I first saw it. So so I don't know. May and that's always the thing. It's like you do see stuff when you're a kid, and there is a nostalgia to it. There is nostalgia to it. Even like I've got nostalgia for shows that were on decades before I was born, but I saw them as a child. So there's nostalgia there.
Right.
Yeah, never grow up mentally. Uh, Happy birthday for next week in case. Oh, it's Golem Adib's birthday next week. Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
So was that you'll be turning 49 or be turning 50? That was a strange thing for me because people always say, turning 20 is a big thing to them or turning 30 or turning 40. None of those things did anything for me, but when I turned 50, that was the thing that I paused and go, 50, that's half a century, you know.
Yeah, everybody kept saying 40. They're like, "Oh, when you turn 40, when you turn 40." And when I turned 40, it was nothing. When I turned 44, things started to change with my face, like my body, and I was like, "Oh, is this what they're talking about?"
Yeah, it was 50 for me, and soon it's going to come up to 60. Muppets Christmas Carol uses lines from the book itself. It's very respectful while being really touching and funny throughout. No, I enjoy it, but it's not. I don't hold it in reverence like people do for some reason, and I don't know why. And that's what I'm wondering. And I'm just wondering if it's an age thing or when you saw it. Maybe I don't know. Same. You can't say the same about our buddies. Turning 50, 49. Okay, so yeah, still young, still young. Well said. Never grow up mentally. I so agree. I don't do age anymore. uh, I love that you were most likely in college at the same time I was born, Sean. Well, no, I was actually I was in university. I started in 1989. So were you born then? That no, because if you're 40, no, you were.
Yeah, I was born in 79 and I'm 45.
Yeah, okay. So no, I
So,
wasn't.
yeah, mid 80s.
Oh, born 84. Wasn't that was when I stood in line to watch, or was it 85 Dune, the Dune film. So I was 18. I was 18 in 84. God, it seems so long ago. So in 1979, that's when I sort of was moving to Toronto. So I was what was I then? I was like 14, 15 years old, 14, 15. So well, I was 9 in 75. It is kind of funny, like when people like there's people that are 30 years old, like yeah, they were born in 1994, and it's like, and what was it? Somebody, I just saw something, and somebody was holding up a book, and they were saying that the book is a nostalgic book about the 1990s. And I go, what? What's nostalgic about the 1990s? Oh, Andrew beats me here, so by 1 year, so I'm not the oldest fart on here. You guys have way better memories of the 80s than me. I was it really that? No, the 80s. I did not like the 80s. The music I did not like at all. It wasn't until late 80s that I thought the music was starting to come back. I did not generally like the music past 1982. The mid 80s, I did not like music why I didn't think it was very good and a lot of stuff. Yeah.
I remember being a little kid, and my sister was, she's older than me, and she was listening to Madonna, and the song Like a Virgin had just came out. And as a little kid, I thought virgin was a surgeon. So I didn't understand why this doctor was being touched for the first time. Like, I didn't get it at all.
Did anybody explain to you or
No, no, I still don't know what it means. No.
Yeah, I remember when that came out. Yeah, that was the music that I did not like during the 80s. Did not like that kind of music for some reason. I don't know why. Later in like when I started, when they were getting rid of records and CDs were coming in, and I was buying like hundreds of records for like pennies.
Yeah.
I started listening and I bought a whole bunch of 80s stuff, and began appreciating the music more. But during the time, most of it I didn't like. I did not like most of the music during the 80s. Now, not so bad. I remember going to see cinema to see ET. I never did. Not sure when that came out. I wasn't until like I've said this several times, but the first I'm not sure what exactly the first film was that I saw in cinema. Excuse me, because I saw two very close to each other. It was Superman with Christopher Reeves and Moonraker. So I'm not sure which one it was. I think it was Superman first, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think I ever went to the cinema as a kid.
Well, it was 100 and some miles to get to the cinema. When you're a kid, it's a little far to go.
Yeah.
There was an infant on TikTok claiming 2001 is vintage. The year Jaws came out, I've been afraid to go to the water my entire life. In retrospect, Jenny, the 80s was the best in my opinion, but in retrospect only. Yeah. See, I don't know. I just didn't. I did not fit in the 80s. I just didn't fit in.
Well, my socks still don't match. I must have watched too much Punky Brewster.
Oh, was it actually a Weird Al's version? Was like a surgeon? Oh, it probably was.
Okay, maybe like I had heard that version too. I don't know.
It's like when you go back and listen to the Spice Girls. Oh, sorry, and think I can't believe I sung along those to those. At least I didn't understand the lyrics as a kid.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice was really popular when I was in sixth grade. I remember when that came out. But I knew the Queen version already, Under Pressure, like how it starts out. So I thought it was Under Pressure. And then I was like, oh, Vanilla Ice.
Okay, I was just thinking of Millie Vanilli, but
Oh, I do remember. Yeah, girl, you know it's true or whatever it was. Yeah.
well, they weren't singing, so that's
No,
the thing.
but yeah, it was still good.
I think the was a brilliant '80s band.
I
Remember
don't know
them?
the.
G's and Mary's Change, Cocktail Twins. I did like Sinead O'Connor. Thought she had a good voice. Like I say, there was a few people during the '80s that I like music wise that I like. Um, I liked Bruce Springsteen during the '80s, most of the stuff, and I liked uh, John Cougar, Mellencamp, John Mellencamp, whichever. Yeah, I've never fit in. Well, I never fit in any decade either. I probably would have fit in better in the 20s or something. Maybe I don't know. The released a new album. Oh, did they? Jesus, everybody's doing it. Like I remember seeing there was a video showing Kiss going on stage, and it was like they're just shuffling along like they're in their 70s, and it's like they need a walker or a wheelchair to get on stage. And I go, guys, it's time to quit. Oh yeah, that's Blame It on the Rain. Okay,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that's yeah.
yeah. That was good too. I liked Milli Vanilli. Whoever was really singing it.
Yeah. But it was funny because there was a Canadian female band that came out in the 90s. And I think like one of them was 14, one was 15, and one was 16. I think there was three or four of them. There were three girls. Their parents were um, in the music industry, so that's how they got it. But they were actually pretty good. And I think they were called Live on Release. I think that was their name of their band. I think. but they were actually pretty good, and they were referring to stuff like Milli Vanilli, and they were talking about that the Britney Spears. They're afraid of Britney Spears and stuff. I think that's the name of the song. I'm afraid of Britney Spears and stuff like this. But they were like I say, 14, 15, and 16 years old or 17. They were really young,
Yeah.
but there it was actually quite funny. The song I remember. Their walking sticks can double as drumsticks. Yeah. No, it's just they were. It was like another one. Stevie Nicks is apparently, I guess, touring and doing stuff. She's still got a pretty good voice, but when they see her walk out on stage, it's like, yeah, you can tell these people are getting older. you know, they're definitely getting older. And then I don't know if Mick Jagger, like I remember the interview sometime in the 60s with Mick Jagger saying, "Oh yeah, I can't believe I'd be doing this when I'm old," and he was talking like being 30 or something like that. Yeah, right. Well, thanks for informing me. Books, songs, and other magic. But will it be as powerful? I always find I can never match the original era emerged. Listen out for it. Yeah, some of them still have good voices, but it just seems that yeah, it's like, and I'm thinking, are like the Spice Girls gonna be up there when they're 80 years old, doing their stuff, or what's his name? Oh, what's the he's Canadian? He's huge. It was a young kid that was doing stuff and always getting in trouble. Oh, what's his name? Oh, he wrote something in Justin Bieber.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, can you picture Justin Bieber 80 years old on stage? That'll be scary. Or these ones that their pants are hanging down. It looks like they've took a big dump in their trousers and it's hanging down to their knees. Can you picture them being 80 years old on stage doing that?
Who knows what will be the style then?
But the thing is, people in their 60s will be in the audience liking them. Yeah, who knows what's going to be at that point. Uncertain Smile with James Holland as guest pianist is really worth listening to on YouTube. Bloody excellent. The I need to go to concerts more. I've only been to one. Oh, you've only been to one concert? Wow. Well, you could go and buy tickets for what is it, Oasis? They opened up their tickets at 400 and some pounds each, which is just ridiculous. That's like $750 US. And they're selling for 6,000 pounds by scalpers. It's a great track. It's the whole album. No, you're not, Jenny. Concerts are, yeah, that's what I was just saying. Nowadays, there's tons of old concerts on YouTube, but yeah, the live concert experience is good too. But yeah, I went to quite a few. There were a few bands I've seen over and over, smaller ones, but I haven't been to a concert in decades. I was gonna go. I think it was Manchester. The Cranberries were gonna play. I forget when it was, but I think it was after their album came out that they redid songs with an orchestra, but it was canceled. So I never got to see them, and I'll never will now.
Right. Yeah, I don't like crowds anymore.
Yeah.
I guess for like the past 20 years, I haven't liked crowds. So I haven't been to anything.
I think the biggest concert I've been to was to with the most people was probably Pat Benatar in 1980 or 81 when she was in Toronto. It's kind of weird because I think I found a video of it on that concert on on YouTube, so it's kind of neat that I know that I'm in the audience there somewhere.
Yeah.
They're not uncultured. I meant typos make things fun. Sorry, typos. You can't beat live music. Oh yes, I agree with the whole album. Is Ace. I have two albums here with me, but I rarely listen nowadays. Went to was who? The Who? But yeah. Well, Barry Manilow. Jeez. He must have been getting up there, unless that was quite a while ago. He's still alive, I guess, isn't he? He is, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's some that I didn't think was still alive, but they're still doing things, and but yeah, like I just find it weird that all these uh 70s rock icons and even 60s are back on the road, you know, out there doing stuff. The Script. I've never heard of The Script.
Yeah, I've heard of the Script. I can't think of any songs offhand.
That's someone I've never heard of. But I think it's we've been going for quite a while. I'm getting tired, and uh, as I am most of the time these days. But thanks everybody for stopping by,
Thanks for
and
having me, Sean.
oh, no worries. Yeah, no, it was good. I have to get you back on again when Brandy's here, so then
Yeah.
you two can go at it, and then I can just snooze in the background. What's here? Golem Maldives says I saw a lot of bands play throughout the '90s, mostly underground punk, hardcore, and metal. 5,000. Yeah, that's a good price. There were shows just about every weekend. Yeah, because I think I might have paid like 20 some dollars to go see Pat Benatar. In the early '80s, 80, 81 or whatever, and probably similar um, for REO Speedwagon and a few others. Like these were the big ones that I saw, and some country ones too. Maybe $40 would have been extortionate prices then. Well, Barry Mello is alive, so Andrew saying bye, good night, enjoy the rest of the evening. You too.
I'm like trying to find myself.
My mom adored Barry Manilow. It was our last concert. Okay, good night, everybody. See you next time.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.